Now in this video I have I think it's a touch lamp dimmer or something like that. Might have been a remote control dimmer, maybe something else, don't know. It was $2. I think I grabbed it because I thought it might be a touch lamp dimmer. So it's got a loop terminal, phase or active, I guess, lamp. Is it a PM or an M? Just says TD500. Or is that a remote? Oh, yeah, so this, no, it doesn't. Oh, the remote is blocked, but maybe that's, you can pop that out. It doesn't have any other terminals. Lamp. So does this need a, oh maybe it's a remote for another module, is it? Lamp, phase, no, this must be how to hook a couple of them together maybe. So you got lamp there, phase is the active, neutral goes to the other side of the lamp. Looks like it hooks the one module there. So no idea what it really is. Might even pull it to bits and see. Might just hook it up and see if it does anything to a lamp. Nothing happened. Oh yeah, something's pulsing on the globe there. Very weird. And it's pulsing on and off very dimly. Just touch it. Well, I don't think it's doing what it's meant to do. Very strange. Well, there you go. Probably why it was $2. But maybe I could look these up online. Does it say anything on the plate? CTI Limited, TD500, CS something. But for $2 it's worth a try. Just to play around with. See whether we can get into any of the stuff. What's all over that screw? And I did remember that some of the HPM ones I think actually did have a remote control, which was something I actually forgot about. But some of the touch lamp dimmers had infrared as well. Oh, there we go. Oh, I got a, is that a neon or something? It looks like the tip of a neon. Yeah, it's a touch plate for sure. You can see the back of the aluminium there. There's a little spring to connect to it. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be a touch lamp dimmer. Better be careful there's no live caps. I guess all those screws probably have to come out or be screwed right in, one or the other. Maybe just screwing them right in will do. Don't think there should be anything holds the charge on this thing, but I'll handle it by the edges until I know for sure. I'll just take that one out because I think that little plug's pressing on it. There we go. There is a very cooked looking neon there. We've got a triac on the heatsink. LS7231 9002. At a guess it's got to be one of those touch lamp dimmer. So we haven't got a shorted triac. Got a couple of very high resistance resistors there, which I think the special high voltage ones, I'll soon remember that from the Electronics Australia kit, that go to the sense wire. So there's obviously no way since this thing's just hooked to active and stuff, there's no way the voltage can get back to the touch plate. I doubt the neon has anything to do with it. Yeah, I might have to look up how this chip's actually meant to work. I guess we can check a couple of obvious things. Just make sure that triac doesn't measure strangely. Oh, I forget exactly how they should measure. Fairly strangely, I think. That's probably something across it. What do we got? A resistor of 47 ohms, I think that is. So that'll be our short. I think that's to the gate or something. 38 ohms. Measures even lower than it should. Just wonder whether one of these other resistors might be cooked or something. Oh, and the little electrolytic capacitor. Would that fail and cause that issue? Who knows? Could be worth a check. Ooh. Well, we'll see if that is definitely it, but that's measuring pretty cactus if it is it. I think that's it. I think I'm on the right pins. I don't think 80 is any good for even a low value one, which was it 4.7 or something? Oh, 47. Oh, that's definitely shot. Oh, that might be the problem. Yes, that cap looks fine, of course, which they often do. I don't know who made that. Almost looks like a Phillips or something, but oh, it is a Phillips. It's got Phillips on it. There you go. Some things you never forget. But one thing Philips, or at least in their earlier stuff, used to make is pretty good electrolytic capacitors. It's the one thing that didn't fail on their televisions and stuff, despite them running quite hot and stuff, a lot of the early ones. What's it say here? CTI T500M version 3C. That's etched into the circuit board. So we've got positive towards the triac. Well, I wasn't expecting it to be a faulty capacitor, but to be honest, there's not much else in there that's likely to fail. 47, 25, and Phillips written down the side there. Now let's put another one in. I only have 4763s because there was no point stocking the lower voltage ones, except maybe in the very odd case where you'd physically need to fit one because a bigger one wouldn't fit. This looks like they're joined, but I think they're alright. Well, that might improve its performance a bit. Don't think there's much else. Not likely to be a resistor. Oh yeah, the neon. Do I have some neon somewhere? Finding them might be another problem. Well, I don't think I'll worry about trying to find a neon. I'm sure I've kept some out of things even in recent times, but where they are now, no idea. Let's just see if it actually runs. Can always do that later if I ever use it for anything, which isn't even very likely. Huh. And we have operation again. Probably should put it where people can actually see it, but I'm sure you can see the effects of it. So that's all it was, 47 microfarad capacitor, and I've now got a second touch dimmer. Kind of a good touch switch because you can just tap it in the night or something. Actually thinking that might not be a bad use for it. Be good on a bedhead light kind of thing. You don't want to use a touch lamp as such, which you risk knocking over if you're half asleep. If it's one of those little desk mounting ones. Well, there you have it. Oh, well, that's now a working unit. One little faulty Phillips capacitor is all that's wrong with that. So it goes to show you can fix just about anything, but obviously no electrician's going to come around and mess around and try and repair the thing and stuff, I guess. But if you had a lot of these installed in a hotel or something, it would be well worth getting them fixed. Have a spare one, replace them, and get each one repaired or whatever, possibly, depending on what they cost new. Can't say I've seen one in white. Normally they got bare aluminium, but I don't think they need to actually have you touch the aluminium as in conductively or anything, because you're not conducting it to ground or anything, you're just putting some 50 Hertz hum in or whatever. But oh well, that's an interesting one. So it was only a simple little thing. picked up one of these secondhand, a HPM DM500 series. It's a touch dimmer. So I think you touch it quickly, it'll turn the light on, off, and then you hold it once it's on, and it'll slowly dim down, and you let go at the level you want. And these used to cost an absolute fortune relative to people's wages anyway, like a couple $100 or something, I think, back in the 80s. I don't know if this one works. There was even an Electronics Australia project where you could build your own, because they were so expensive. I think they used one of the Decorator series, which had these aluminium type plates on them that came in gold and aluminium silver colour, a few other different colours I think. But you could buy just a blank plate. Didn't have the cutout like this one for the LED or whatever they got in there. It just was a silver plate, and you could use that as a touch switch. There was some specific chip made, I think, like a European chip or something, that was made to be a touch dimmer, and you could buy those, and Dick Smith sold the kits. I think they were more like $30 for the kit or something maybe, and then you had to buy the wall plate, which was still quite expensive, but nothing like the price of one of these proper ones. And it's saying do not mega test because you'll blow the electronics up in there. Electricians used to like putting megas on things, which is a high voltage insulation tester. I've heard of them even putting it across the mains plug on a microwave oven and stuff and killing the controller in it, because electronics don't like it when you stick 1,000 volts in. That can then go through via a transformer or switch mode or whatever and do some damage. So what have we got? One. Now they're showing an actual, what is this, a push button switch across it or something? So they got one, oh sorry, 3, 1, or are they showing that as the switch? Active comes in a 3, lamp goes on a 4, so it doesn't need a neutral at least, because that was the one important thing, because you normally didn't have a neutral anywhere near a light switch. The electrician would have to know in advance when they wired the house to run an extra neutral wire down there, because they just sent an active, a twin switch wire normally, or maybe a triple, or extras if they had to switch, if it was a more than one light being switched there. But it was an active, unswitched active, and then the switch active outputs. So let's follow their little wiring diagram. And we don't want a neutral on there, we want an active in. Get rid of our more modern Clipsal stuff here. And we're going to need an output to the lamp. Well, actually these are dimmable LED lamps. It'd be interesting to try them. A lot of these early dimmers don't work well with modern lamps, LED lamps, because they're such a low load. The triacs, I think, in them, or the I forget, was it a diac or something that ran the triacs, required a certain drop in voltage across the lamp, I think, or certain current draw, and you have to get a, is it a leading edge switcher or something, a new type of dimmer to run LEDs, because the old ones needed at least, I think, a 60 watt load. If you've just got one or two of these, like 7 watt, 9 watt, 12 watt downlights, it's still not enough to make the old dimmers happy. And I actually had to get one upgraded in the house here, but for the same reason, because we changed the lounge room lights to LED, and even though there's 2 of them, it was flickering and carrying on and wouldn't dim properly. So that's active, neutral on the other side. Why does it show like a, oh, is that another switch? Oh, slave. Oh, so you got a slave switch. So like a 2-way switching, I guess, and loop. So that's just loop, not used for anything. So that's all it should be. Active in, load out, neutral on the other side of the load, of course. I think we'll go back to an incandescent light globe, because that's what it's made for. And see what it does with that. If anything, probably still works, but you never know, it might have failed. But I've never actually seen one of these in the flesh before, as far as I know. Don't think I've seen one installed anywhere. Don't think I've seen one uninstalled like this one. But I saw a cheap second hand for $5 or something. I thought, oh, I'll have that. Alright, let's plug it in and see what happens. And we've got a light, Don't know if that's a bit bright there. Oh, there we go. On, off. And I only know that from the Electronics Australia project because I read about it, and there we go. Down it dims, and then it goes back up again. And I guess as long as you keep holding, does it go back down? Yes, it's slowly. It's just going to go into a cycle. Ah, that's a nice little device, and it stays on the dim mode. Don't know if there's a way of resetting it. You probably got to set it high again, off, on, dim, off. Yeah, so it actually, and I think these just pick up the 50 hertz that's in the electromagnetic radiation around us, and especially even from the cord going into this and from the unit itself, I guess. And human beings pick that up. And then this acts like an antenna. The chip in there senses the 50 hertz coming in. Don't know why it doesn't just pick it up itself, I guess, but all these touch lamps tend to rely on humans picking up 50 hertz. I have a friend who reckons she can't turn her touch lamps on and off because she obviously doesn't conduct electromagnetic radiation very well or something. But she seems to have a lot of trouble using the things. And that's it. That's a nice little bit of technology from the 80s. I think they were like an SAB chip or something. I'll have to see if I can find the Electronics Australia article. So yeah, it's kind of nice because this one's got a red light in it, I guess, to make it easier to find. Does it go off when I do anything? No. I swear something changes in there though. When I touch that, the light seems to flicker or something. Almost looks like it goes out and back on again. Is it just one? Whoops. Yeah, hard to tell. Oh, it does go. Oh, maybe that's what it is. It goes brighter when it's off, dimmer when it's on. Or is it just the light is doing something? Not sure. Something seems to flicker in there. But that is still working after all these years. I don't know when this one was actually sold. I don't know what year they... Doesn't look like it's got a date on it. For incandescent lamps only. Do I dare try it on a LED? Obviously, these were not made for fluorescent and the like. I guess there's only one way to find out. It should handle an LED alright, though it may, like I say, flicker. It's the only problem. Be interested to know if they still work in the modern world. Probably why it got pulled out. In fact, it could have been someone upgraded to LED. And of course you can get ones that run off your mobile phone and all sorts of things these days, like smart devices. So these are pretty obsolete in some ways anyway, if you like using your phone to do everything. So let's hook that up to our LED downlight. And it's winter here, so I just had to defog that lens a bit. Oh yeah, not happy. That really is flickering to town. Very unhappy. So I think we'll forget the LED running off the output idea. As expected, that is a no-go. These were built a long time before. Maybe if you had a whole room full of LEDs that added up to more than 60 watts or something, it would behave itself. But with just a load of one or two of them, it's not going to behave itself. But these are quite a novelty thing. They still are really more of a novelty than anything. And it still works fine on our incandescent. So if you take your hand off, Is that right? It's not continuing. Goes up, goes down. Ah. Don't think I noticed that before. Goes up. Oh, up. Let's see. Dimmer. Then it goes the opposite direction. Opposite. Opposite. Okay. So if you dim it down, well, that's quite a good design. Then you come back and touch it again. Obviously, you probably want it brighter, not dimmer. Otherwise, you've got to go full brightness again and wait for it to go back down again. Yeah. But anyway, that was an interesting thing to just have a play with. It's been sitting here for God knows how long on the side of the bench. And I just remember it was there because filling with this other stuff. Oh, one other thing I want to play with. Speaking of things lying on the bench, I came across one of these really early Philips SL25, 25 watt, 240 volt. Made in actual Holland, glass. It's had something all leaked down in it, so I'm not sure if it's any good. But these came out in the 90s, I think, possibly even the early 90s. These are a very early compact fluorescent lamp. And I think, again, Electronics Australia did an article on them from memory. It was only one of the magazines did, and I know Electronics Australia had a pretty cosy relationship with Philips as one of their big advertisers. But these were like a super well built lamp. But this one, you can sort of see something's oozed down inside, ran down, and ended up on the bottom. I assume it was in a light fitting hanging down. But it would be interesting to see if this thing actually works. What a noise. And while I've got all the necessary parts in front of me, it's a good time to test this thing out. I mean, the fact someone got rid of it probably means it's faulty, but I'll find out, I guess. Cool, still goes. Just making a bit of noise. And it's actually a nice warm colour. I didn't realise that. I was expecting a horrible blue thing. So these Philips lamps, I think they were quite expensive at the time, but that is actually quite a good lamp. It's a genuine replacement for a normal light globe, unlike most of the cheapo rubbish that was out there, which were all cold and didn't last very long, a lot of them. Is a bit of UV light maybe coming out of it. I better be a bit careful of that. Looks like it may have lost a bit of its phosphor. But yeah, that's a goer. Despite it being quite filthy inside, it still actually works quite well. But yeah, there's a definite sign of some purpley light coming out the bottom there. Don't know if anyone can see that, but of course the camera's going to adjust. But yeah, those bits on the end are not too good. Make a bit of a humming noise and maybe a little bit of a hissy sound, but I think these are only a magnetic ballast in these, and it seems to be like most of these getting brighter as it warms up. You forget how slow some of these were. At least that came on with a reasonable amount of light. I think some of them were really hopeless, and the modern ones that were meant to replace your household light globes, they took forever to warm up and came on very dim to start with. One of the worst lighting technologies ever invented, I think. But the government decided to force us to actually switch to them, or those horrible halogen inside a normal incandescent housing, which also fail very quickly. And even I found a lot of the LED ones that replace the normal globes, if they're in like a glass light fitting or something, they tend to fail very quickly as well. I assume because of the heat. So I've actually been replacing a lot of things with downlights because they actually vent off into the ceiling space, so they're not too hot, assuming there's no insulation above there. You soon cut a bit out if there is. And they seem to last really well. And they're easy enough to pull out and unplug them if need be. And they're not that hard to swap if they do fail. It's always, you know, I've actually got a spare one lying around in case one does go, and I can just plug it in and replace it. But so far they've lasted really well. Whereas anything inside a normal light fitting, I guess they run pretty hot. never a good idea in the first place really, but yeah, that's quite bright now. So it hasn't lost its brightness. But yeah, the only problem with downlights, if you're going to hook them up, you've got to put one of these ceiling mount, or these line socket type things, unswitched sockets up in the roof space to plug them into, because they all come with a power cord. Of course you could cut the wires off, I guess, and hardwire them, but that would be a pain if they ever failed. And again, should have an electrician to do that sort of thing. If you've got an electrician got to get one to wire in the light fitting, you might as well get them to put a power point in, and then it's basically a user changeable thing after that. These come with these plastic insulators on the back to seal them up, and you can probably should still turn them off at the circuit breaker anyway, and they can be screwed to something up in the roof. Though most of the time I think they just sit them up there loose these days. But yeah, interesting old piece of tech from an early Philips. I'll see if I can find the Electronics Australia thing on it. God knows what issue that would have been in. I think I've got an index to up until the 90s or something for Electronics Australia. I'll see if I can find that. I think I can actually see a ballast in the middle there possibly, and see what it said about them. But yeah, I didn't realise they were a nice warm white, but I think these were pretty expensive compared to the sort of ones you used to buy after the Rudd government decided we all had to go eco-friendly lamps, that all they do is create a lot of e-waste. And the worst thing about these things is they didn't normally come sealed in a glass thing like this, and when they failed they often puncture a hole through the side of it and let the mercury vapour out potentially. So they're quite a toxic thing. I think they estimated there was going to be 2,000 tonnes a year of mercury getting dumped in the rubbish dumps just from these compact fluoros or something. So they were a bit of a silly idea, but at least the quality made ones. And Philips was a brand I didn't like their electronics so much because it wasn't so reliable, but their light globes were very good quality normally. I think I have actually bought a Philips LED one that didn't last that long, and even Osram and stuff, which used to make great incandescent globes. But Philips, you could rely on them to make a light globe, which was their original business before they realised light bulbs are like making vacuum tubes, and on into electronics they went. But well, it's a few electrical things to play with, and everything's fogging up again, so thanks for watching.